Veterans at Rock is a monthly podcast hosted by myself, Sailor Scott, and Zach Rabbit. We are both recorded musicians and like to dedicate this podcast to showcasing military veterans that have passion in the arts.
That's right, we feature musicians, photographers, actors, sculptors, and the like. And our goal is to have a fun time bringing knowledge and information about the well known veterans and soon to be discovering veteran artists.
And our guest today is a very special guest, an old time friend, Mr. Ian Sabo. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, good.
Yeah, doing
Uh,
awesome, man. Thanks again for being here with us today.
Yeah, no. Again, thanks for asking me. That's awesome. I think it's pretty cool, like the idea that there are like more and more guys who like served in the military that, were in the scene, not just like guys who were in bar rock bands or whatnot, but guys who like grew up in the hardcore and metal scene and ended up in the military some way. So it's cool. I think it's a cool idea.
yeah, and we had just were covering Mr. Jason Everman last month, who had like a story kind of you played before and in and after the Navy, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing while I was in the Navy, like I was still actively doing bands, in the Navy, just off and on, and just it's hard to give up. Like, dude, I'm 51, and it's like it's so hard to quit. It's like a drug. Like I've been straight edge my whole life, so I don't know what drugs are like, but I can imagine like this that urge to not want to be irrelevant in your life. To just, it's the same thing maybe with just being a man or not a man, but a person and getting older and not just wanting to sort of fade into the background. Like you want to remain either personally, socially or artistically relevant in some way. So yeah, yeah.
I gotta say, Ian, I was lucky enough to see the wonderful pictures that you sent us and read a little bit about your history and your bio in the music industry. And it definitely doesn't seem like you have any chance of being irrelevant. It seems like you have a very beautiful, colorful history in the scene, and we're there during the rise. So, I mean, that must be an incredible. That must have been an incredible experience, as well as, I mean, the military at that time. I'm sure uh, being a musician and being in the military, like that must have been kind of a strange mix.
I think anyone that sort of, I don't know, there is always like, how do I compare it? Like at any workplace, you go in and people at your job find out you're in a band and they're like, oh, like what's it like? And you can't really say, well, it's really, if you say, oh, it's like heavier, they're like, oh, you mean like Metallica or Disturbed? They have a very like, and that's fine. They could have a very like normal view of what the type of music you do, but no, it's like, you play in bands who want to sound like Dead Guy or, and so it's always hard. You're just kind of like, yeah. And it's sort of the same thing with the military. A lot of guys, there are a select few dudes who, they are into that more subculture scene of heavier music, or even if it's like hip hop or whatever. But, most guys that I served around, it was always kind of funny. They were into just normal stuff, and that's, again, that's fine. There's no judgment there. So, but yes, I was lucky. Like even like I met Scott, 1990 something.
Yeah, it
I
must have
mean,
been I was in Virginia Beach 96 through like
so
2000. So you were playing in what bands were you playing in?
probably finishing up in Channel and maybe in Canifera and Goddess. So Canifera was with like,
Sean.
Brian,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Sean Lindsay,
Oh yeah.
George Collins, and John DiGiorgio. And
Oh yeah.
then into Goddess, probably, that was with George Collins, uh, and Brett Matthews and a few other people, and Carl Sorensen. Uh,
That's right.
yeah, so
Rest in
probably
peace.
those two bands at that point. Probably Built-In Enemy as well was mixed in there with, I don't know, you remember Rod Melvin?
Oh, Rod with the dreads.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, Built-in Enemy was sick, man. I saw you guys play once. Like, it was
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Somebody had posted a flyer, that Carl had put together the show, and it was like first 100 guests get a free shirt, and it was a free show, and I was like, oh my god. And it was like, I think it might have been like, I don't want to, there was some, I can't remember the bands. I know one was Jesuit, it was Built in Enemy, and it was like, it wasn't, it could have been Bane, but it might have been someone else. Like, I don't remember. It was someone big, but it was more on the like the hardcore in that. I remember looking at the flyer being like, that's an insane show. And the first 100 people get free shirts. Like, that's
That's
not
cool.
reality now, you know?
No, no. That was one of the
Um,
things I was excited the most about with this. Um, we had pardon me if I missay the name. We had a great guest, another friend of Scott's, Joey, from the United States Marine Corps on. And one of the things that I've noticed, is it Joey Dasil,
Docile, yeah.
Scott? Yeah.
Docile, yeah.
And same kind of thing. He was doing the hardcore punk thing in New York City. And the one thing that I noticed personally being in a band now is like it doesn't feel like there's that same um, cultural and local scene kind of aspect anymore. You know, it kind of seems like, I mean, I think it's cool that so many bands have an opportunity to get discovered now in their own ways and find their bases. But it really seems like you were a part of something that has grown and actually still remains such a solid, uh, community and however you want to say it, in that hardcore scene. What was it like coming up in that? And did you do it before you joined the military, or was it like kind of a
oh,
progressive?
yeah. I didn't join the military until 2013. I was 38 when I joined the military. It was kind of like one of
Well,
those,
thank you.
yeah,
I
Yeah, thank you.
only known one other person that was not in their 20s. They
yeah,
didn't make it in, unfortunately. But like, I had a couple guys, and like anybody that's willing to do that. I was 18 when I joined, and it was during the recession. That's kind of what led me down that path. Couldn't
yeah.
really find a job, but like, wow, that's hats off to you for doing that. Thank you for your service.
But so I felt very kind of like, I'm 38. I wasn't really like in a career that I loved or in a career at all, probably. I was still in Virginia Beach. And I just felt very listless. So I wanted to move away from Virginia Beach. I moved to Austin, Texas, and then I joined the Navy, which is odd because coming from a place like Virginia Beach, which is so Navy, heavy Navy, you move to somewhere else that's landlocked, well, except for the Gulf, but Austin. And then I joined the Navy was just, I felt like if I didn't do it then, I was never going to do it. My whole family was military in some manner or another. And I also felt like I wasn't going to be seen. And this, I think this is some, in a way, in America could be a problem. I wasn't going to be seen professionally as a person. If I just had a college degree like everyone else. So it was like, I was like, what? I'm not getting the jobs that I want. I'm not going anywhere in life. So it sort of, in a way, can prey on that thought, well, I'll just join the military, you know? And it was a good decision, and I'm very thankful I did it. But then also, you're kind of just like, I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard. I can't eloquently describe. I think I was just lost, and I needed something. And I will say that helped with that aspect of life. You
That's
know.
crazy. It sounds just like kind of what Jason Everman said. And it was really fun for me. My partner, who's a fan of the show, thank God. She just watched that episode, and one of the things that she said that stuck out to me was that's a guy who's doing what you're supposed to do, living.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're not afraid to do that at all. Like it sounds like a challenge is easy and not easy, but it sounds like you are very not intimidated by anything, and you go for what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it was a surreal experience to join at 38 and go to boot camp. And literally, I was older than the petty officers. I was older than everyone. I was older than the chiefs. The chiefs, a lot of times, these guys are like 35, 36, maybe master chiefs and things like that might be older, but I was 38. It was just like, they were constantly like, why? Why? And I was just like, I don't know. It was just, I just wanted to do it. I felt like I wasn't going to get another chance to do it. Um, and yeah, again, I don't know. I was just floating through life, and I needed something a little bit more to shore me up, and I will say that the Navy did do that. Um, it and it also like being as I can say I'm politically driven in terms of like my opinions, and I wanted to see like as an American what we really are kind of doing. And you can never really see all that from just one angle, but it does help you get a really good perspective about how we um, present ourselves in other countries, how we act in other countries militaristically. I can't militaristically. God, I'm having a problem saying that. But and just I don't know. I wanted to really see like to live that if I'm going to be a politically charged person, I need to have a little bit of that experience to back up why I have these viewpoints, why I feel this way about, you know, whatever. So that helped in that regard. I can now be like, I went here, I saw how we as Americans maybe didn't need to be here or there or wherever. And it solidified my viewpoints on things like that. I guess, yeah. So it can be so multi-layered, but it also be as easy as like I wanted to look better on the resume. It's like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you put that extremely, extremely well.
yeah,
I think again that sounds similar to the reasons I joined. I just wanted to be able to start a life, and in that time, I was lucky enough to have an education in electronics,
nice.
but I couldn't do anything with it because the job market was changing so rapidly at that time. Um, but just to follow up, going back a little bit, how'd you start playing bass? Did you start playing bass, or was there like a different? Did you try playing clarinet first or something, or
I
how'd you
did
end up?
play. I think I was like fifth chair out of five people in like alto sax. I was just very terrible at it. I always had a love for music. I'm you guys probably are as well, but like definitely the MTV generation, like watching music videos, and I can just remember with me and my cousins just standing in front of the TV watching like, MTV and playing fake guitar and a tennis racket to like bands like Starship and Heart and all those arena rock bands, and then like kind of discovering like metal and like Headbangers Ball and just kind of being like in awe of like what on earth, like this is so heavy, it just sang to my soul in terms of that type of music. And so I wanted to not just listen to it, I wanted to play it. And I'm not a good musician by any means. Um I think I'm a good showman, and I am a good like I can learn almost any song. But with me, like creating music, it's not something I do. I love being a part of a band. Like it's crazy to me when dudes come home and they like practice guitar for like 3 hours. Like I can't do that. I love getting in the room with people and just like it just feels like, I don't know. There's just something about it. It's like I said, like a drug with music and playing live and being able to give it up. And even creating, like 7 inches, 12s, and having physical artwork and all of this packaged into something. It's not just a sound, but it's an idea, and that's how I felt when I first got into like I got into thrash was probably like the first type of real genre that I was heavily into. And then I went into like death metal and then hardcore. And I can even remember like just hearing like Gorilla Biscuit start today for the first time and like that first track and like the horns, and then it came in and it was like hardcore was like heavy, but it had like a message that wasn't weird and like singing about demons, which I still love. Don't get me wrong, I'll sing about Satan all day. I can love that, but hardcore was a lot more attainable in my own life. There was so much like focused anger about an issue, whether it be whatever. So yeah, that's my spiel with that one. I don't know where I was going. I was on a very non-circuitous path with that,
No,
but
I think you nailed it. No, I'd be like, we just wanted a little bit of background on how you ended up playing bass, and you
oh,
even went further and told us about how you
got
like to
into music.
perform.
Yeah, playing bass. I think I tried to play guitar first, and I didn't have the patience to sit down and learn. So I remember we started a band called Set of Standards. It was X Set of Standards X, and it was with do you remember Aaron Connell, Scott? He was changed his name to Aaron Edge. He's in like he
Uh,
started in like Himsa. He's in so many bands. He
is
was
this
in
are these are any of the pictures that you sent, Ian? I could pop them up.
he is in the first one, that first one where it's like I still have long hair. Um,
Oh yeah, let me pop this up really quick. Set of
yeah,
standards.
he's in that like yeah, he's in that. I think it's that first very first one. There's another one. That's Dwell. So
Oh, that's Dwell. Okay.
yeah, that's got
This
Aaron
one.
and Carl and Ronnie. So the first one, yeah, that's so Aaron's up front. He looks so young there. And then
Aaron? Okay.
Ronnie, you know
Oh,
Ronnie.
Ronnie. Yeah, I remember Ronnie. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other guy is Trey Young, and he kind of got me into straight edge when I was like 14.
Damn,
Um,
that's awesome, dude.
yeah, and so that was the first band we ever did. So I'm probably like 14 or 15 right there.
Dude, that's
Um,
awesome. I
and
mean,
they just needed a bass player, and so that's how I got into it.
yeah,
So then
man.
after that, it was Set of Standards, and then you went into Dwell, and
Yeah,
then
Dwell would be
Channel.
the second picture, which has
Oh
like
wait, let me
dudes.
share that
Oh
again.
yeah, yeah. It's got like three of the same dudes, just
Blows
a
up.
different
Oh,
singer. Which is you remember Carl Sorensen? Um,
Carl. Yeah, rest in peace, Carl. Man, that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Um,
every band I ever almost did was with Carl. You know, like him and I were inseparable for
oh,
like
this is Dwell picture. Yeah, this is from the 7 inch.
that. No, we never did a 7 inch with that. We just did a tape.
Oh, tape,
So
cassette
the
tapes. I
first,
mean, yeah, that's awesome. Holy
yeah.
shit. Wow.
But there's the other picture that has us sitting in like a circle. That second picture, yeah, that the one that's Dwell. So that that's Carl on the left with the green hat,
Oh
Ronnie,
yeah.
Aaron. So we're probably like 17, 16, 17 there.
So cool, man. Yeah, dude, you guys were like revolutionary down there. Like, I was so happy to like, when I came off when I was stationed at Virginia Beach, I was wearing like I went to that mall. What was it? The name of that mall in Virginia Beach over there? Like
Lynn Haven Mall.
Lynn Haven Mall, and I had like a H2O shirt on, and like
Oh yeah.
Kurt Powers came up to me, and it was like, oh man, I found my crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what was cool, I think, about the smaller scenes. Like you were talking about growing up in the scene, like you were definitely a part of that. Like I remember first meeting you and being like, dude, this guy's like in the Navy. He's got tattoos. He's fucking huge. And I was just like, this guy, and he's in hardcore. And I remember like I got into fitness like sort of after that, but I always come back to thinking about you as being like the only dude out of everyone who was like actively into fitness and being like, this guy is like, he looks like a bodybuilder. And I know, like, even by today's standards, like, if you and I looked at us back then, we would be gigantic now compared to us back then.
Right, right, right.
When I saw you back then, I remember being like, dude, this guy's freaking huge, man. He is, he's the real thing. He's got a real like job and he's like doing stuff and he's into hardcore and he's covered in tattoos. Like I remember being like, you always left an impression on me, with things that like you were the OG. Like,
I
yeah.
guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's
Well, that was
also like you grow up. I mean, down there, it's like there's a pretty bad stigma against like Navy dudes to begin with, right?
yeah.
Because like they're always just like the whole town is full of Navy dudes who probably on their first or second divorce, like and it was a real I'm like 19 and like
Yeah.
being pressured to drink on base by the chiefs and stuff. I'm like, fuck you,
Yeah.
I'm straight edge. Like you don't understand. Like
Yeah.
it was just like a weird juxtaposition, man. It was like I was like couldn't wait to, and then I moved in with Kurt and his mom. I lived,
I remember that. Yeah. I
yeah.
remember coming over to Kurt's house one time and you were there.
That was like my saving grace, man. Because like living on the base, there were just like these dingbats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember you being like the catalyst for like even this whole thought, and you have to be one of the first like hardcore dudes. Like you, Terrence was definitely Navy hardcore, but he was more, he kind of swayed more into like I don't want to say emo, but that way he was more into like noise rock, I think.
Yeah, yeah. He was
But
definitely into his like, cause he grew up in San Diego, so he was like way into like, Inside Out and shit like that out there.
yeah, I remember what was it? Oh, what is the name of that band? They're so good. Blake plays for them. They Jets to Brazil, and before that, how am I
Um,
drawing a blank? Jawbreaker. Jawbreaker.
Jawbreaker, yeah,
That was like I remember he would have Blake written on the side of his Converse, and I was like, all right, that's cool. He really likes Jawbreaker.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know if I put that down. I was in the '65 film show, like the first iteration of it.
Oh, that's right,
So,
dude. That's cool. I
yeah,
remember. I don't know if I was. I definitely drove down with you guys to like North Carolina to play some shows, just to like roadie. It was
yeah.
fun.
And that was like because it was like so I was in Goddess and '65 Film Show at the same time, and then Steve, the drummer, he was in Goddess and '65 Film Show at the same time, and it kind of came down to like, do I want to play heavy music or do I want to play more of this kind of indie emo stuff? And I thought the '65 Film Show was awesome, but it was really like a Texas is the reason kind of worship in the beginning, and then I think they really like developed their own kind of image like after I was out of it. And I chose Goddess. I was like, I've always got to do heavy stuff. Like it's
Yeah,
just the way I'm programmed. But they were, they wrote some amazing stuff. And, a lot of it still, you listen to it today and you're like, people are rehashing that sound. And you're like, these guys it's like a weird uncanny valley version of what that music sounded like back then. But yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, that was a long tangent. Sorry.
No, that was great, man. Yeah, I want to play like before you were talking about how you're like a great showman, performer, but I think you're a great musician. So I wanted to play. Is it cool if I play that clip from or clip from Designs, that
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
video?
Yeah, go for
Let's
it.
play that. Let me. I also popped up some like I found some Kinifra on YouTube. Wait, oh shit. Nice.
No, you're fine.
That was yeah. So Designs had like a bunch of incarnations, like with singers, right, and so forth.
We just had two, so it started like so I had seen them with you remember Kenny Woodson, right?
Yeah, yeah. Kenny, he lives in California
So
now, right? I think.
I'm not sure. So he lived here, and he's kind of one of the reasons why I moved down to Austin. He was like, "Dude, just get out. I'll help you find a place." So he was so instrumental in me coming down here, along with another friend, Dane. Um, and he said, "Hey, this guy Keith Hernandez, who was from Virginia Beach, he's in this band called Designs, and he lives down here." And he was like, "Come out and see him." And I did, and I remember they were just a four piece and they were like just so like frantic and chaotic and I was like dude I gotta try and play for these dudes so they already had a bass player so I was like hey you guys ever need like a second guitar player like I didn't play guitar but I figured I could learn because I played bass forever and they were like yeah like the next day they called me and they were like hey let's go have tacos and we went down to this restaurant and they were just like yeah do you want to play and I was like yeah so I was in Designs from like 2013 to like 2020, I think. And they're still active and they're still amazing. Um, and Jake was the singer in that video. And then he got kicked out because he had like, I think he kicked a girl in the face. And the dudes in Designs were like, no, like you're out. Like this girl had like approached someone in the band or something. I don't remember because it was literally like we played a show one night and this girl had come to a show who was maybe harassing one of the other members of Designs who was married, and this girl was kind of harassing him. And Jake, like, I think he tried to kick her in the face or something. I don't want to besmirch this dude. I don't want to be like, hey, he tried to assault a woman because I don't know exactly what happened. But I remember coming home and like getting a text at like 1 in the morning from one of the other dudes, and they were like, "Oh, we kicked Jake out," and and I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh wow.
And then they got Daniel, who Daniel, I always loved his voice. I was kind of like pro Daniel the whole time, anyways. And Daniel's been in the band since then. Daniel just has like, he's got a gruffer, more aggressive voice, and he's just such a nice guy. But all the guys from Designs are so cool.
Do you have a timeline of the bands that you were in, and what were some of your favorites?
Like I think a lot of the early bands I did obviously were favorites. Uh, I don't think I really got into music. I mean, I was into music, but like the idea of being in a band until I was in Channel. And Channel was the one band that was like, that had like dudes who went on to do really, really big bands. Um, and that was sort of my initiation into being into like, you know, hardcore, I guess. And then from there, it kind of defined what type of music I wanted to play. So from Channel, that really got into like, I guess you'd say more of the metallic hardcore stuff. And I'd say the End of the Universe and Goddess were two of my favorite bands to be in. One was with Carl. I think that was like the last band that he did and that we did together. The End of the Universe was just, other than the songs being too long, it was just like at a time when so many bands like, well, I was even looking. I have a 10-inch compilation that Goddess was on that has Converge, the Dillinger Escape Plan, Ink and Dagger, Black Army Jacket, and Today is the Day. And then there's Goddess, and
Do you
it's
have it
like,
on? Do you have it near you, Ian?
yeah, I have it right here.
Oh yeah, show it to me.
Dillinger Escape Plan and
That's crazy, dude. Ink and Dagger were awesome. They were like this vampire band, dude. They were fucking
Yeah, they're
so
just now.
cool.
I think isn't one of the guys from like Tim and Eric's Tim Heidecker was in Ink and Dagger.
Really?
Yeah, one of those guys was in Ink and Dagger, but this it's like a 10-inch compilation we did, and I didn't even know about it until like Lacey, Carl's uh, widow. It's hard to say that. It's hard like you can't really say ex-wife. It wasn't like she chose any of that, but yeah. So I didn't. It felt weird when she played this, and she was like, "Yeah, Goddess was on this," and I was like, "What?" Like I don't remember Goddess having anything, but this is definitely Carl's doing. But yeah, it has like I don't know if you can see, but it has like the Dillinger Escape Plan, Converge, Black Army Jacket. Um, Today is the Day, Goddess, and it was like Now or Never put it out, the 1818 compilation, And it was just like, you look back and you think all of those bands are huge and unforgettable. And then there was like us, and we're like, put out one song on this and all these other, I just saw Converge at Stubbs with Poison the Well, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, they're playing for like a couple thousand people and they're on a tour bus, and I'm so happy for Nate for being able to achieve all that, coming from like Channel, and a lot of the same scene we came from. Now he's like a mecca of bass players and music.
Yeah, I was like tracing down the lineage because like, or some of the lineage, like Channel was on Stillborn Records, right?
Yeah, the first band ever, like, because we used to always play with Josta 14, and I remember playing in like Connecticut with Jamie and like meeting him. And yeah, it was Josta 14, and he was wanted to put it out. And Nate was the guy who did all that. He was the talker, you know.
Yeah, like
But
for our viewers that don't know, like Stillborn Records was Jamie Josta, or AKA Jamie, the singer of Hatebreed's first record label, back when like bands like, were just mailing each other cassette
yeah,
demos of like, that's how it worked. It was crazy.
yeah, yeah. So he put out both. I think he put out both Channel 7 inches. We have two, and he put both of those out. Um, And yeah, it's weird. You don't think about it then. You're like, cool, some guy put our stuff out. And then you don't think about it till years later where you're like, oh yeah, you could have really like pushed the boundaries with that. But as always, you're like kids. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's thankful that I was introduced into that. But with favorite bands, like of course Channel, there's all sort of a place of favorite for all of them. Maybe some are kind of like, you're just like, you just did it to do it. Um, I really won't. A lot of bands, like, there's a whole period which I kind of just did music to do it. And I won't say I hit like another resurgence of holy shit, I'm having a lot of fun. Um, like the newest stuff I'm doing, like with Cultburner and Poacher, are the two bands that like that's what I want to do. I'm on this chase to find like the most aggressive type of stuff to play. Stuff can be heavy or stuff can be have discontent, but it might not be able to portray it that well. And I feel like, I'm proud of everything I've done, but I'm at a good place with the two bands I'm doing now, and they're so much fun. And it's just, I don't know, it's just I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Do
So
either of does Colt Burner or Poacher have any videos or any favorite songs you want us to play right now?
um I think Cultburner has like a bunch of stuff recorded that we have put out. We're recording more. Poacher just put on an EP. I'd say Cultburner has, um, I want to say, Guilty Spark is a very like kind of indicative song of kind of the sound we are going for. It's just frantic, low, frantic high kind of like notes into low, heavy, drudgy stuff.
Guilty
And
Spark.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Let's play that right now.
yeah, go for it.
How long is that one? Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to Poacher. Like that song "Bitterness" has like a killer breakdown at like minute
Yeah.
8. It's
Oh, I
fucking
know.
crazy. It's sick.
That's cool. The guy Brett who writes everything, like music wise, is like he just writes in these time signatures that sound like 4/4, but they're so not. Everything is like has this half note in the middle of it to where you're like, okay, cool, I'm in 4/4, I'm having fun. Oh nope, I'm not in 4/4. And he like can't write in it's just I'm not a music nerd enough to know what it is, but it's like in 7 and 1/8 note. It's just like he'll be like, well, it's just the way I write. And he learns Dillinger Escape Plan songs by ear. He'll just sit down and be like, okay, cool. He's like one of those types of musicians. And he's just so good. Same with Austin, drum wise, is just this guy who can he hits so hard. It's one of the things that I'm like so impressed by how hard he hits the drums. And Joshua is just his voice is so aggro, but he's like the nicest guy. You would look at him and be like, he's covered in head to toe from tattoos, but he is just like the sweetest dude I know out. He's just yeah, so the Cultburner just to me is like it's the culmination of like the kind of stuff that I want to hear musically. Like it itches that scratch for that more. I don't want to say math corey, but that's what it would be considered because of the time signatures and how Brett plays a lot. But
Yeah. Well, if you could, I mean, you could adapt to it too, which is great, and like just figure out, play rhythmically what they're playing time signature wise, like
yeah,
because
yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to learn a little bit here and there of like time signature stuff, but
mhm,
I think I just naturally can play that stuff,
yeah.
not knowing what it is. Finding different pattern, different rhythms. Whether like it's 7/8 or whatever the hell you want to call it, or you
Don't
know,
look at me. I
yeah,
hear the beat and I feel when it's supposed to change, and that's how I know. I'm not counting. I just know that, hey, that's going to change then, and that's that. And so Cult Burner really hits that mark for that kind of stuff. And Poacher is like, I've always just wanted to do, like, I've never got to do, like, just, I use these words and I don't mean them, but like a dumb Neanderthal, like hardcore band. That's just like, to me, it's like blackened hardcore. It's heavy but it's not.
the tone is like real heavy on that shit, man. It's like really,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
It,
grindy.
yeah, I don't want to think. I just want to be able to like break my face on the ground, like from body banging, playing that. I want to hit someone with the headstock of my guitar, or bass. Like, that scratches the itch of just the dumb meathead guy wants to hear music like that. So I'm very lucky between the two of them to have like, and they're still both heavy bands, but they're so intrinsically different. So
Yeah. Let's run through some of these pictures. Aggressively playing, like, is this you on the ground?
that's from King's Head Inn at a channel show.
Oh wow, King's Head Inn.
Yeah, there's that Plan B sticker, and it used to say "meat is murder," but I cut out the meat is part, and just that was the murder bass. That was like the first bass I ever had. It was
Oh,
like an
sick.
Ibanez. Somebody was pulling on the string after it broke, but I think
Nice.
that was like I remember back in the day, like every scene was indicative of something. Like Philly had its own style. I remember playing shows in Connecticut, and they were like called it Connecticut Kicking with like Falling Forward and all these other bands, and that's where the modern day like all that karate comes from in the pit. But I remember Virginia Beach was very like everybody loved dog piles. At like the end of the show, like everybody just went for the mic and there would be these huge dog piles and people just on top of each other. And I remember that being very like kind of like a Virginia Beach thing. And then we get to go play shows out of town, and we kind of bring back these other styles of like dancing that these other cities had like kind of incorporated into their scene. And it was like how Zach was talking about, like, you're lucky to be able to see that in real time and experience everyone doing their own thing and what is their tribally, you know, used to in their own little regions. So, but yeah, that's from a channel show. I always liked that picture for some reason.
That's awesome, man.
I
Yeah,
gotta say, it was something for me personally. I've like really gotten into or back into skateboarding recently. So seeing the
yeah,
Plan B sticker on there,
I know.
like I know like everything that encompassed that. Like Rodney Mullen's one of my favorite skaters.
Yeah.
And I know him with Mike, I forget the guy's last name, but they like put a lot of heart and soul, and it's still a huge brand. I mean, like that's what I was kind of talking about though. Just a lot of that culture was built on. I don't know. It just seems like y'all had shared pastimes with one another, like
Oh yeah.
skateboarding and
I mean, skateboarding is
music.
what got me into metal, and like all the friends I made, I skated with first. Like I grew up skateboarding my whole life, you know. I'm even now back. My girlfriend and I are back into skateboarding here, just like going, just kind of like push parks, you know, just pushing around. And you
Oh
know, she
yeah.
surfs and she wants to get more like, since we don't live next to the ocean, she wants to have more like board time. So you know, we've just been pushing around, and it's always awesome. It's something, like I said, it doesn't go away. You know, for some people, maybe some people, you know, they're through with it, but for me,
It seems like it's a golden age of that too, where like you can just be a cruiser and you can be
yeah,
a trick skater and I think even rock music has some elements of that too, where you can
yeah,
enjoy hardcore, you can enjoy hip hop with that or jazz. It's just a pretty awesome time to live in, and it's because of the culture that you helped build, really, that made I think that made all that pretty acceptable to people.
yeah.
So I can't, I can't, again, to me, it's just incredible that your life, just everything that's happened to you, it's just kind of what happened to you. But to someone like me, it's a historical journey that it's like almost like textbook in counterculture these days. So it's just, wow, to speak to somebody that was a part of
It's
that.
yeah, well, I mean, but like for you to even be a part of it, like you are into things that I'd say a lot of people aren't, they don't even know exist. And like even with Scott, like what I was saying, like Scott was, you know, is OG, like Navy dude, military guy that was into hardcore. He was genre bending back then, you know. So it's cool, like in our own all little ways we, you know, contribute, you know, and keep it going.
Yeah, and I mean, like when I was like, I guess, 18 to 22 and straight edge on the bass and
Must have been
discover
hard.
it was hard, but I mean, when I went out for deployments, like just listening to hardcore got me through all those times of like because when you're around when you're young, like you're really influenced by the people around you. So like I had to like and there is weirdness in the Navy, aka racism.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
but I had to hang out. I tried to hang out with like tri-state people, mostly people of color. I hung out with like just
yeah.
because I knew like some of these other dudes were like not cool.
You see the worst, like being who I was in the Navy. Like I, I'm over 6 foot. I'm fully tattooed. I work out crazy, you know. Like, and then you'll get these dudes who think that because of the way I look, they're gonna be like, yeah, I fucking hate these. Like, and you're just like, what, dude? Get the fuck away from me. Like, no. Like, I'm not your friend. I'm not a part of your culture. I don't want nothing, you know. So it's like I think I was, I don't know if you guys had the term back then. I was kind of a blue falcon in the Navy where it was like I just did my own thing. Like I just avoided people, you know, and there were some people I got really well along with, but a lot of people, you know, you do see a lot of the bad, and I hated that part about it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
the inter hate, and you serve with someone who literally is responsible for your life, and then there's somebody else who like talks shit on that person because of either their color or their sexual orientation. It's like, dude, this is so counter what we are, you know. I remember being in a briefing and they were talking about the inclusion of like trans people and uh, how they're going to have like a transition period in the Navy and things like that. And some dude was like, "Oh, I identify as a cat." And I remember the I think he was an LT, and he was a SEAL, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up." He's like, he got pissed, and that I will say was a time where I was like proud to be in the Navy because this dude who was like, he was kind of like everyone looked up to him because he was a SEAL and he did his shit. He like was in a room full of people, full of like majority white guys who probably had that. I don't want to paint a brush, but a lot of them probably had that same sentiment of like hating on someone who's different than them. And this guy was like, shut the fuck up. These people do the same thing you do. These people depend on them, and I remember feeling like, holy shit, that guy's the real thing. Like, I really wish I would remember his name now. It'll come to me later, but I remember like just being like, fuck yeah, dude. He like shut down this like white trash, just douchebag who just wanted to be a dick, just to be a dick, and
There's a lot of
I,
people like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it was so bad, like there were times where I was just like, when I finally made rank, and you kind of get to that point where you're like, okay, you can kind of be like, shut the fuck up to some like army brat who's from like West Texas who's never met a black dude in his life and
right.
or who thinks of a Muslim as like a bug, and you're just like, shut the fuck up, like stop, like you're the problem. I
Yeah,
don't know. I could go on and on about that. That was
yeah.
Yeah,
just side, but I'm sure we've all had that.
I wanted
yeah, I
to
got
ask.
out of
I
the
wanted to ask.
military
Okay,
and
sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
so, yeah, I was wondering why I wasn't flipping on me. I got out of the military in 19, so I guess 6 years ago now, and like you just kind of said, it's all culture. I think I noticed that people from the East generally seem to be a lot more tolerant of
Yeah,
things, whereas like people from like the middle of the country, for whatever reason, have their own biases, and then I don't know, it's that was what got me. I think you kind of touched on that in the beginning too. Like you got to experience the good and the bad and
yeah,
have that's how I feel about it too, and I'm like it's got I think that's why we become artists sometimes. I do, because like
yeah.
you're just trying to express your frustration with things. I don't know, but like I totally understood what you were saying there. And it is a real thing, and military, let's work on it, let's clean it up a little bit.
I think it could also be like exposure. Like a lot of these dudes, they just weren't exposed to other different types of people, other different thoughts. They come from small town, and they've been told their whole life that these people are bad, and then they get in the military and they get around a couple other good old boys, and they try and puff their chests up and talk shit, and it's almost like they're peacocking themselves for no apparent reason, and then hopefully they make friends and they change their mind is the best thing, but some don't. Some, they're hardwired to be that way. And you were going to
Yeah.
say something, Scott? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, like that. It definitely. Hopefully, there is some sort of impact left behind from people like us being in, like, you know, squashing on some racism stuff, or just leaving a good impression of like you don't, these people, whatever branch you're in, like these people are going to have your back, like
Yeah.
whether it's a fire on a ship or a fucking you're in combat, like color does not factor in,
No, not
Yeah.
color, not race, not who is sleeping with who. Like, I don't care. Like, I care about you wanting to get what you need to get done and backing me up. And that's what's important. And I will say, I got like, you get disenchanted when you see a lot of that. It's weird. And I don't know. I don't want to like associate it to like the prison system where people like go off into their little gangs but at times it was like that. I mean, with you, Scott, you were probably back in a time where it was even, you know, harder for anyone who was different.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I definitely have a funny story. I think I've mentioned it on another podcast where, you know, I'm like a E1
Oh,
on,
wow.
I'm like, E1 on Naval Station, Oceana, Naval Air Station. And I'm working in one office in this hangar bay, and there's another office next to me doing the exact same jobs. Both of our bosses are like our chiefs, and both chiefs are Spanish. I'm just an E1, blah blah, and being told like you have to go outside and mow the grass or do some shit job. Another E1 next to my office was told the same thing, to go work with me and like mow the lawn, do the clean the bathrooms, and the guy's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't take orders from your kind."
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And then it's just like
Imagine.
the chief was like, "What?" And then that guy was just like in the brig the next day, dude. And when you're in the brig on base as a E1 or whatever E5, like you have to march around like you're still in boot camp, go to the
Yeah.
mess hall, and then go back, march back to the brig. It's embarrassing, dude. Like just fucking stop being and it's
I,
crazy.
I can't even. What? Like, where did that? I don't even. I can't fathom.
Yeah, I
Like, what
mean,
you go through
random
someone's.
stuff like that happen, but like, I don't know, I don't know.
I'm
It,
just
it's it's
curious.
it's out there, but
Yeah.
um, but going back, I wanted to ask you about being in boot camp at 38.
Yeah.
Because like, I just want to know, because like, as I get older, I'm 49. I just care less about things and what people think of me. Right? As I get older, it's a common side effect. So when you were in there, like, was it as intimidating as like were there like 18-year-olds in there that were like totally scared and you were just like, dude, just do it, like, or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. The hardest thing was like thinking that that's what the military was going to be like because I didn't have experience with the military, and I was like, is this really what it's going to be like? Like this, like strict? And it's not. The second you get out, it's like do whatever. But there were kids like breaking down over the dumbest stuff. You're just like, God, all we have to do is put our clothes on and take it off again, over and over and over. That's all we're doing. It's Navy boot camp. It's not that bad. You're taking a test, and the hardest part for me was like there was a point where we didn't go outside for like 3 weeks, and that was hard because you want to go outside, but well, poor me, like God, it's like such a first world problem. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of personalities. I thought it was funny because what is it? How can I not think of the movie? The one that has Vincent D'Onofrio in it, where he shoots himself.
Full Metal
Military movie.
Jacket.
Yeah, the way he nailed every single personality in boot camp, and that it was so true. Just every single person he had in there, that personality I could point to. But it was weird. It was the petty officers left me alone. They were like, "We're not gonna try and break you," and they were cool, and I had a really good time. It was just being away for that long in that type of environment was hard, but hard is relative. So
Yeah. Were you trapped inside for 3 weeks because of the snow, or just you guys were being punished?
I don't remember. I remember it could have been because of the snow, but also it could have just been because we were doing a lot of other different stuff, and we did not go outside. I remember I did not see the sun for a while, and I'm probably embellishing with 3 weeks. It probably was like 2 days, but in my head, it was like the longest time ever. Um, but yeah, I joined and I went to boot camp on September 31st and then got out, I think in January, then went straight to A school for a while and got out. And that was that. And, A school was like, it was a breeze. It was like fun. So
Which is like this one here.
that's designs. That was from, we actually played here in Virginia Beach. None of us are in Virginia Beach. But we came up and played in Virginia Beach. Um, because I wanted to play home. So we had like that's that same little run we did where we played with you guys in New York.
Oh right, yeah, hell yeah, that was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
designs were fun, man. You guys had like the light triggered, also with the drums.
yeah,
It was
that's all key.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was so crazy, man.
You can
yeah.
really see the showmanship in that picture too that you were talking about in the
I'm
beginning
standing
there.
on some. There was like a cutaway because I think we were playing this old restaurant, and there was like a cutaway window, so I was standing on top of that.
Oh,
But
it's cool.
yeah, if I'm not hurting myself playing a show, then it's not fun.
Was there any lessons you learned in the military that you brought with you into your music career?
Hmm. Um, Measure twice, cut once, making sure I don't waste time. There's so many times when you're about to play a show and you just instead of just showing up with your haphazard gear, you want to make sure you're ready. Always be prepared. That would be the military definitely prepares you for that. Don't leave anything up to chance.
Yeah. Wait, is
I
this
definitely feel like I got from that.
Yeah,
Which bands are these in?
that's both Cultburner.
Cultburner. Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah, so these are
You're back to
very
playing bass.
yeah, yeah, back to base, which is the easiest and it's the most fun to throw around and try and hit people with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I'm
fun.
a big gear fan. I gotta add, what? So I see
Yeah,
you're playing a Mesa cab there.
yeah.
You a big Mesa fan?
I was big into like I always played 810s. I used to have two 810s in the end of the universe. We'd play I'd have two 810s and then the other dudes would have full stacks. But once I got that Mesa cab, it's a 410 115, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and it was $500. I actually just re got it all the speakers are placed by this dude here that does worshiper cabinets. He builds these amazing cabinets. Look them up; they're amazing. But he re-speakered. That's the word.
A
That whole
410 and a 15.
yeah, so
Crazy.
smaller, but that thing is so. It's a 4 ohm cab, and I use a 900-watt dark glass head, and so it is. It is hard to like. I kind of want to go back to an 810 only because that Mesa cab is like, it's like a black hole trying to pick it up. It's so heavy.
Really? It's
It is,
heavier than a 410?
yeah,
I mean,
or
sorry,
heavy.
810. Like the
I
the
think so.
the
I think so
refrigerator.
because it's denser. It's so dense.
Well, but like those Ampegs you're talking about, those you just like also just like shovel back and you're like,
You can, yeah, and then
yeah.
just kind of scoop it up into your car or van, whatever. But that Mesa, it's a wide cab. The ports are huge, so it pushes a lot of air. I mean, it is. I can't play past four, or I'm just breaking. It's just I hate God loud kind
Wow,
of.
that's crazy. Where and then you have these your cool Sailor
Oh,
Dixies over
I
here.
know. It's like that's. I think that's right when I got out of boot camp.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's like I said. I didn't take any pictures of myself in the military. It seemed weird. Like anytime somebody's like, thanks for your service, you always do that thing where you're like, all right, no, you don't want to. But then that's mean. You don't want to be a jerk to someone who's like
Yeah.
trying to be nice to you. But I didn't, um, I don't know. I just didn't feel a need. That was actually in Coronado. I got invited to do the Navy Marksmanship Championship.
Oh sick.
Um, yeah, so I was lucky enough to do that, but that's like you're just pulling targets all day. You get to shoot like from 1,000 yards with iron sights, and then you're 8 hours. You're just pulling targets for people who really know how to shoot. But I mean, it taught me a lot. Um, I'm not a big gun guy, you know, but that helped a lot.
Yeah. I
Definitely
mean,
seems like you had some interesting experiences while you were in, like saw
I
some cool things.
I was sometimes cool, other times you're just like, oh, why? I don't want to do this.
yeah.
You see, like you thankful you're where you're from, but it's also kind of sad that you only have that life because you were lucky enough to win the lottery at where you were born. Other third world countries, Africa, wherever else, you know, this it's so hard for those people. And you get to see that in first, like that's what I said. I wanted to experience like what other people, real people with real problems go through so that when I come back, I can have a better eye
Yeah,
on my
man.
own problems. I can never feel bad. Like
Yeah.
anything that happens to me, I'm just like,
Well,
what?
that's what I talked to about with Zach. It's like as having getting out of the military, having a civilian job. Like when I worked at a record label or band merchandising company, and like I might have messed up an order of like 1,000 T-shirts, like and then getting reamed by my boss. I was like, yo, I
Yeah,
don't care, man. No one died. Like,
yeah,
it gives you perspective for sure.
yes. You're lucky to have a job that you can mess up and still have a comfortable bed to go back to. That's
Exactly.
not infested with insects and yeah.
Yeah.
Is
And to try
there
and make those lives better for those people. Not that I did, but have that perspective that that's what we should strive for.
Yeah.
with what seems like so many successes in your career?
Yeah.
Um, I know it sounds funny, but from this angle and
Yeah.
seeing I mean, seeing the discography, seeing what you're doing now, continuing it all, like, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe 20 years old and has this same kind of passion as you for music and wants to experience things. I guess what would you say to the young kid who's thinking about joining the military but also wants to be a rock star or a studio owner or something in the future?
That there's so much time in your life. Like, I know that in terms of like, I'm 51, Scott, you said you're 49, and there's so much time. You can do all of it. You can join the Navy or the military, not just the Navy. You can join the military, do your 4 years, you can make a career out of it and still play music and still be successful. I mean, I don't really listen to that band, what conservative military image, but that they run on that. Like, that's their whole thing. That guy, he's had a very successful music career. And again, I don't know much about them. I don't listen to them, but also probably military career. But I would say that just get out there and do it, but do it with passion. Like whether it's anger, that's where I always come from, and it's never like an anger that's like like you want to kill someone. It's like surfing a big wave, like that could crush you, but that's like fun. There's aggression in that. But your question, it's there's so much time. Do it, just keep doing it. Don't give up. Like, don't let life get in the way of you trying to do what you want to do. Like I can't repeat enough. I'm 51 and I'm still gonna like play shows, and I'm still gonna try, and I'm still gonna like put records out. And I don't know, like, it's gonna be weird when all of us are like in our 70s and we're still listening to like Cannibal Corpse, and and like it's just gonna be weird, because it's I'm
Yeah.
never gonna stop listening to.
There's gonna be like 70, 80, 90-year-olds in nursing homes like covered head to toe in tattoos, like
Yeah. I
with
mean, there are now. You see a
yeah,
lot of those dudes like talking about skateboarding. I see like dudes who are in their 60s and 70s who are just phenomenal at skateboarding. And
yeah.
I'm like, that's so awesome. I love that, even, and I talk with Mandy about this, like, even seeing the ladies out there like crushing it and so good at surfing, at skating, like just mangling these rails with like stuff I can't do, and they're like little girls out there just it's so awesome to see. I love seeing that, and same with music, like the inclusion that has like ladies up there who aren't playing drums like you would kind of see back in the day, kind of hitting at them, unless it was I forget her name. She's like the most amazing drummer ever from like the 60s or 70s. Oh, I'm such a bad person for not knowing her name. But just seeing ladies up there now like just crushing music. One thing I wanted to say with Zach's question, I know I had that super long answer. I think it to sum it up, like, don't fucking stop. Like that's it right there. It's like it's your Nike just do it moment, but like with whatever you're gonna do, don't fucking stop. This full throttle, like burn out, but don't fucking stop.
Yeah,
So
I think you hit from my experiences in life. I think you hit like the nail on the head for every feeling I felt like coming up in my 20s, trying to carve out some semblance of the career I wanted. And like you just said, there's so much time. There's plenty of time. It doesn't seem that way. People are going to make you think there isn't, but and something else I've learned now is especially in today's musical world, like you can have your version of success, whatever makes you feel happy. You can be the rock star on tour every month if you want. It's a lot of work, obviously, but you can also just be the guy that plays 3 tours a year and releases a couple of records. I don't know. I think it's a really cool thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, it's much more fun to play shows where everyone's like head walking and going nuts, tearing each other apart. But it, just to play shows, it's lucky, very lucky. So yeah.
Ian, are you promoting anything? Any of your bands currently releasing any albums or EPs?
Yeah, Poacher just put out they never saw it coming, and like I said, I'm really proud of that. It's like it's been fun to play like that kind of knuckle dragging. I think it's more of that, like, I don't know, like you said, it's very gnarly, but it's simple, and I love it. Cultburner, of course, we're about to go back in the studio and do a couple more songs, which I'm stoked on. But we're trying to take a break from playing shows because we're just not playing the shows we want, you know. And again, we're lucky to have shows, but we want to go in a different direction with who we play for. You know, Austin's an interesting scene. It's either like weird kind of metalcore, you know, but we're an aggressive band. We want to play for aggressive audiences, not crowd killing, not that kind of, you know, where fat dudes want to hit girls because they don't get laid enough. But, you know, like fun shows. So we're rethinking everything. Poacher, on the other hand, it, you know, has guys who are like very seasoned and who the singer is he was in a band called Kill the Client, which they were on Relapse Records for 2 albums, I believe. He's a big mecca in the grindcore scene. He's in a band called Triage. The other two guys are just amazing. Nate, who is just this fountain of good riffs, and a new guy, Johnny, playing drums, who is just like very good at what he does. And he's in all these other amazing bands in the Austin area. But yeah, Poacher, yeah, we're also going to go back in the studio again because we think it's important to keep recording. So many bands like record and then don't put out anything for like 2 or 3 years, and it's like, no, you got to record, put out an EP. If you're lucky enough to do a 12-inch, cool, but you know, keep doing it. Like I said, don't fucking stop. Just keep recording, keep playing shows. So
Yeah.
I can just say one of the things I enjoy about your art and music that you make from Spitfire to the 2025 Dream Eater from Cultburner. I
yeah,
love how your stuff is just like very melodic and it also is rhythmic. Like, you know, a lot of times with the music and style that, you know, you hear, I hear like more of a technical, straightforward kind of sound,
yeah,
but I just really enjoy that. It's almost dancey, you know. Like I think like I really enjoy the music you guys are putting out.
yeah. That could be a lot like a lot of the Virginia Beach scene was so like you had bands like Jesuit who were very rhythmic with like the drummer Jason. You know, even with Channel, the guy who played drums in that Brian, it was very like listening to bands like Sepultura, you know, and it was like all toms. And I think dudes in Virginia Beach were good at coming out with that sort of like making you want to move music. And that's, you know, that's what I want to do live, you know, like, you know, but you also want to move yourself. Like watching a lot of bands, they're so static on stage. For this type of music, there's a time and a place. I understand that. But if you're playing hardcore, be fucking pissed and put a show on. Don't just stand there like a deer in headlights watching, you know, other people have fun in the crowd. You know, swing your bass around, swing your guitar. Don't, you know, play your parts, but have fun. Look like you're playing the type of music you're playing. Showmanship. Somebody posted something about like why music sounds so bland now, and because they were talking about how everything is dialed in so perfectly. You know, the singer has inner ear, so does the drummer. There's a click track. The lights are perfect, so every show this band plays is exactly the same. Nothing is left up to chance anymore. So I thought that was, excuse me, a very interesting take on live music now. And hardcore still is that kind of last bastion of chaoticism and wildness where things go wrong. People break instruments over other people's heads. People get stepped on. You know, it's the best ever.
I mean,
So
a lot of people wouldn't even believe this from my generation, but like if you made music on a computer, what, like 15 years ago, even maybe even like 10 years ago, you were like really looked at kind of funny.
yeah, now people are like complaining about not being able to use AI the right way to write a song. And you're like, God, or it's hard to write a song using AI. And it's like I don't know. I think Frank Zappa said something about it. Also, another bad me who was in Faith No More, Mike Patton.
Like
He
that.
talked about it a lot. He had a very good thing talking about like how computers are just going to take over, and that was in the '90s. I think he said that, and he's 100% right. You know, 30 years later.
Think like you said too, you know, I think it's also a quote with along with those arguments is if you make good art and like you said, if you really care about the total product from the album art to the tracks to the professionalism you put into your studio, then it'll be found and loved and nurtured, I think, in life, like, so I think there's hope for people.
I hope, yeah. But you have, that's the thing. It can't just be you put out a banger of a song and then you don't worry about the artwork or the message of the song, the lyrics, the layout. Oh, excuse me. Even the if you put out vinyl, if you just put out black vinyl, cool. But I love a good colored vinyl, something that took time. Like, yeah, it's got to be the package.
Yeah, I love colored vinyl, man.
Oh
Big
God,
fan.
I can't put enough out. I'm so lucky every time I get to put a 7 inch or 12 inch out. I'm so happy just to hold it and to see it. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm trying to do that with my other bands, like get a 12-inch going or something, because just having it online is not enough. It's like you
No,
gotta.
it outlasts you.
Yeah,
You will go away to dust, but
yeah,
this is a physical form that will, and somebody might find it in a bin in a thrift store, but they might think, oh, what the hell is this? And then in some way, after you've died and you've died, what they say, you die twice. They die like the second time, everybody forgets about you. In some way, that's your legacy. That's what you did. It's a
yeah, yeah.
way to cheat death in that way, sort of. Well, thank you for letting me bore you guys to death.
No, no way.
Yeah,
This is
yeah, no
so much
way.
fun, man. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you
It's
for
fun to
coming
talk.
on, sharing
Yeah,
all the stories. I mean, like, it really, like I said, it's incredible to think that um pretty large accomplishments and the story of your life to you is just so, like, it's just your life, but to someone like me, and I'm sure obviously Scott, I mean, it's incredible, and I think our viewers are really going to enjoy that too. And very, like I said, kind of crazy to me again, the Jason Everman stuff, or a lot of the artists that we do with on this channel sounds very similar. Just this yearning to really see what's out there in life, and then express it to others. Just the artistic vision, I guess.
yeah, yeah. And I would be lucky to express it artistically. So yeah. But no, but even between like you and Scott, like everyone has an interesting story, and that you were. It's not easy to join the military. It's not like you're smart. Like not everyone is a rocket scientist, but it's not easy to join the military. Like you have to go through like even if you just go through boot camp, like that's not easy. It feels like prison for a little bit, to strip yourself down. I didn't experience that because I was older. They like I said, they left me alone. But it's again, it's not easy to give up your freedom in that sense, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you do give up your freedom. Like I mean, once you're in, you're scared to get a dishonorable discharge. Like
Yeah.
holding back, like not going. If I had like mental problems, I like would hold back and like I talked to like I think I had some anxiety problems, but I talked to like the chaplain first to make sure shit wasn't getting documented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you are scared to like fuck up
Oh,
big time.
I remember they have I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. They have the moment of truth when you're in boot camp and they're like, we know everything about you. They have like hundreds of people in this room and they're like, if you have like something in your background that you think is going to like, disqualify you from the Navy, you need to stand up. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, they don't know shit about me. I am not raising my hand. And this one dude, he was older. His name, I don't want to say his name, but he was 31 and he was covered in tattoos. He was the only other guy who had like full sleeves. And I was like, holy shit, he was in my I guess, unit. And I was like, that guy's cool. And we got to be friends to an extent. And he put his hand up. And I was like, why? And he got, I guess, I forget, as mode or something, where he said that maybe he thought at one time he might have um, ADHD. And he talked to a psychiatrist. And I think it's called as mode or something. I could be wrong. And they make you serve out the rest of your like training in boot camp, but they take your like nameplate off, and it's like you said with like the brig, it was so demeaning. And it was over something where he said like he thought he might have had ADHD. And I remember him putting his hand up and being like, dude, you're done. You're cooked. Why would you do that? Like the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, not that I did anything in my life that, but we've all talked to like, I've talked to psychiatrists before in the Navy and things like that. But I was like, I'm not telling them that. They don't know that shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't. So there's something, if you're joining the Navy or any kind of military, don't tell them shit unless it's bad. Like if you have like a DUI, they'll probably find out.
Yeah, they'll find criminal stuff out for sure.
Yeah, but not if you talk to a psychiatrist when you were 13 about feeling sad. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't tell them anything they don't need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, be honorable, but don't be that honorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for letting me. It was just fun talking with you guys. It was fun to be able to talk with you again, Scott, as well as meeting you, Zach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
no, I had a great time, and again, I really appreciate you being on the show. I know I've said it a bunch of times, but you can never say it enough because not enough people want to tell their stories. So that's the whole point of the channel.
Yeah, everybody has one. Everybody has some interesting thing, and it's fun to hear how what I might bring up intertwines with what you guys have experienced.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'll be excited to put this one out. I will. I think people are gonna enjoy because it's a scene we haven't really touched on much. You're also like we haven't had too many Navy people on, but I always find it incredible when we do Navy guests. Like the Navy just sounds wild. I know you said it wasn't really 3 weeks, but like. I've heard that that's kind of something they train you to do in the Navy is to be prepared to spend long amount of times like inside the protective shell of the ship.
If you're a sub, yeah, and I was lucky. I never went on a ship. I was more of the like in the dirt Navy, which that was
Thank
good.
God, yeah.
I
Like
could
I couldn't do it. Not
I
me,
couldn't
man.
imagine being on a ship and like you can't leave where you work. No, I was happy sleeping in a tent or on the ground. Like, thank God, or Allah, or fucking Satan, or Thor. I don't know, whoever. But thank them for keeping me out of a shit. So,
You
yeah.
run a ship, right, Scott?
yeah, aircraft carrier. Me and
Oh God.
Terrence also, we were aircraft. Well, Terrence is funny because I want to have him on the show here because he played in 65 Film Show with you,
Yeah.
and he was like the funniest dude because he took a job. He was like a helicopter rescue guy on an aircraft carrier, and like
Oh,
he told me every time for like a whole year, every time he went up, he would just like throw up.
wow.
And like he just had to have a bucket with him the whole time, but he just stuck with it, man. He was like really funny.
I know he also might have been like on a C-130 for a while. Like he
I
was
think
riding
so.
on
I mean, he
those.
was really into Top Gun too. Like he knew like all the planes, all the helos. He knew like what
Which
he
is funny
wanted to
because he
do.
didn't strike me as like that. Not that, he just struck me as more of an intellectual. I guess that is an intellectual thing, but that also seems like, I don't know, like more of I don't know, like I'm a man. I know all about the warthog and guns. And he was like very kind of intellectual to me all the time. And I use the word soft, but I don't mean that in a bad way. He was just like a good person, like someone who you felt like you could trust and be safe around. Like I miss that I don't talk with him. I haven't talked with him in a while. I know he's out in San Diego, but
Yeah,
he was just a quality guy. I wanted to be in the 65 film show because of him. The music was cool. I love Texas. That Texas is the reason vibe we had going, but I just loved being around Terrence. Like he
yeah,
was the nicest dude. And he
definitely.
was funny and kind of a dick too. But it's weird, like how. So I do miss talking to him.
Yeah.
So
Oh man. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much, Ian, for being our guest for June. For June.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank you for asking me. This was a lot of fun. I trust you. I said all I said. I said how I said it.
All right. All right. All right. Well, thank you guys. Well, see you
Yeah,
guys in next time.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
tuning in
Thank
to
you so much.
Veterans. We're gonna post Ian's Instagram down below. You can check out his endeavors with Cultburner and Poacher. And yeah, check those bands out. We're gonna list them up here and put links on our channel for those bands. And yeah, stay tuned.
And as always, if you can think of any photographers, actors, painters, musicians, and the like, put them down in the comments. We appreciate you watching us. This is our community, and we can't do it without you. So we appreciate you watching. And this has been Veterans That Rock, the channel that shows off veterans that rock.